Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for coming today. This is a really exciting panel, and I hope you guys enjoy what we have to share with you tonight. So my name is Heather Torres. I'm the program director for the Entertainment Business Masters program. And we're here to talk about a new exciting experience and opportunity that you guys can all be a part of. As you know, Full Sail is all about real world opportunities. And so this is one in and of itself where you guys can gain some experience if you choose to enter the contest. So we're here to talk about Orlando Advertising Week, which is going to be coming up in February, early February, and it's going to be hosted, part of it's going to be hosted here on Full Sail's campus. We have an amazing panel who's here to talk to you guys about ways that you can get involved with Ad Week. And they're actually not calling it Ad Week, we're calling it The Week, because it's yet to be branded. That's what we need your help with, okay? We need your help with the branding of this event. So on our panel today, we have some great guests. Let me introduce Mr. John Ludwig. He's the CEO and owner of Push. Come on out, John. You guys can clap. We also have Christian Knightley. He's the president of the Advertising Federation here, American Advertising Federation here in Orlando. He's also the owner of Tree Frog Cinegraphics. Next, we have Josephine Carey, and Josephine is a freelance copywriter, and she's also the founding organizer of the Traveling One Show Orlando and Creative Week Orlando. Thank you. Next, we have Rebecca Porgafari. She's the education director for AAF Orlando, and she's also the Southeast account director for IZEA. And last but not least, we have Chris Work, and he's the communications director for AAF Orlando, and he's the founder and creative director for Workhouse. So we'll jump right into questions from our panel, and we'll start with John all the way at the end of the table down there.
Hello, everyone.
John, can you tell us a little bit about your background and the history with the local advertising industry?
Yeah, I actually started at a Bachelor of Fine Arts and Communication Arts. So a lot like you guys, I began in this profession as a student, and I love advertising. I love communications. I love what we were able to do as far as influence people's decisions and how they go about making product or service decisions and purchasing those. And I moved here in 1989, and I'm not even sure that Full Sail was up and running then. Maybe it was, but yeah, exactly. And I met with a lot of different agencies and ended up working for a great agency called Carmichael Lynch, and a guy named Chris Robb and Tim Fisher. Two of them were kind of the leaders in the creative space here. I'm a writer by trade, and it really was a great time to be in Orlando because all of a sudden there was this evolution of creativity, of thought, and influence on how we could be smarter about the creative product that we're creating and moving forward. So I watched the city grow over the last probably 20, 21, 30, I hate to make it to 40 years, that old, but it's really been great to watch the city grow.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit why you think we need an Ad Week or The Week here in Orlando.
Yeah, I think when I started in the advertising business, there were kind of three mediums: print, outdoor, TV, and radio. So four. But it's grown so much. There's so many different disciplines that we can go through, and there's so many different avenues that we can take now, not just as students but as professionals. I think that's been a big part of it because as diverse as it's become, I think we also need to bring it back together because we've become very fragmented a little bit in all that we do. Mm-hmm. So I still think we need to celebrate the idea of business, of creativity, and how that all works together and drives influence in decisions that people make.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Christian, what does Ad Week look like as a cooperative event among several, because there's lots of different agencies and local organizations that will be involved, correct?
Yeah, so John approached me a few months ago to start discussions on this, and over the last several months we've been meeting with local agencies and their leadership to kind of discuss, does Orlando need this? Do you want to be a part of it? What could we do? So we've kind of pushed things forward, and we are really excited to partner with several agencies and bring in some other organizations into pulling some really awesome events together where we'll bring in leaders that are within our industry out of this market that inspire us, that we aspire to be like. And we'll be putting together some great networking events. We'll be celebrating our industry through the Traveling One show, through the Addy Awards. We'll be having some workshops, some luncheons. So it's just going to be this really great week of some awesome events.
Wonderful. Josephine, can you tell us a little bit about what has been done so far to kind of get the ball rolling on Adweek in years past?
Well, actually, there's a couple of facets to that question, and it starts with a little bit of a backstory in my background. I'm a New York trained conceptual thinker, and I was working up at JWT, working on clients Ford, Smirnoff, Halls, and Welch's, etc. And some of my work gladly got into archive and got some recognition from D&AD in London. And I always, being in New York, I was always at the One Club, and they always had lectures going on and events around global creative work at the time. So when I come down here with my husband, there was no One Club and there was no global creative work. So I was thinking, well, what could I do? And of course I went around to see what all is available here. And I talked to the One Club about, hey, why don't we get the Traveling One show down here, because it hasn't been down here yet, and you bring it to other areas. They're up in Savannah at the university up there. So in 2012, we brought it down, and it was a phenomenal success. Of course, we had push and the agencies supporting us, and nearly 150 people came. And what we did is we had one big night of presentation, and then we kept the exhibit up for a week. So then we thought, okay, let's see what we can do next year. Maybe we can add something more next year. So the following year, we had the presenters do an informal portfolio review. And then the next year, we really started to do a lot of legwork. We talked to the AAF and the AMA and the PRSA and et cetera, to reach out and try and get them to be promotional partners for the Traveling One show, as well as try and get something going to fill out a week of events. In 2014, we had like a landing page calendar. We had some improv business talks at Purple, Rocket Scissors, as well as an informal career talks and whatever the organizations had that to fill out that week. And then actually I got to get in the ear of Mayor Buddy Dyer to try and get something going, because I know we're doing the Creative Village and stuff, but still in 2015 it was still not really rooted. And then Kristen mentioned about rooting it next year, so I'm really excited that it's going to the next level.
That's awesome. We actually have a little bit of information to share with them about the Traveling One show. And this video is actually it will give you a clear idea of what the Traveling One show is. And this is going to be an exhibition here at Full Sail the first week of February, and it's going to be open to students and the community to come out and see. So this is a short video that explains what the One show is all about.
This is the Traveling One Show Orlando. The One Show is held every year in New York City in May. There's 63 countries represented. There's over 21,000 entries this year and 374 awards. This is the cream of advertising, design, interactive and branded entertainment tonight from all over the world.
A lot of this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Josephine Carey. A few years ago, we just started talking about maybe we could do an event together, and she was down here in Orlando, and she really wanted to bring some of this great creative work down to Orlando, and so I said, okay, well let's just make it happen. Let's like bring a show down here, and then that was sort of like the catalyst, and then she took that ball and ran with it.
The nice thing at a show like this is you can win if you're in a small town, because great ideas and innovation don't have geographic borders. You come from anywhere. You know, Orlando is kind of a small town as far as the advertising business, but Orlando's made a lot of big strides in the past 10, 15 years, and It's getting some really good creative companies here.
The business is more and more competitive. There are so many brands, so many, media is fragmented, and you have to be more and more creative to get your brand out there, to have your messaging right, and really think about the whole concept.
It's totally inspiring. I mean, one, for the fact that it's from around the world, and it's right here in little old Orlando, as some people think of us, even though we're actually some big dogs and big players are out here.
Advertising has changed significantly. It's not enough to just throw out a TV commercial and expect that to do its job. You really need to reach people in new and innovative ways, and so that's how the industry is adapting.
Some say it's a second creative revolution because there's so many new ways to communicate things now. You're taking in social, you're taking in digital. It's not just the old way where it was TV, print, and radio. Now you have all these new mediums which open up a lot of really cool ways of doing things and a lot of good ideas.
So that gives you an idea. It's almost like an art exhibition for advertising, right?
Yes, and I'll get into more details on that further.
That's awesome. So what's the significance of having this here in Orlando?
Very significant. Basically, what you're getting is the global cream of advertising, design, interactive, branded entertainment, and other categories as they pop up. As we know, it's always evolving, and you have it right in your doorstep. And it's a screening and presentation of from winners talking about their backstory of the work, and as well as the exhibit, you can pick it up, you can touch it gently and neatly, and read the fine print and read the body copy of the poster ads. You can really get intimate with the work and see what's going on in Australia, Africa, other parts of the US, etc. It's very significant to basically see where the creative bar is at your doorstep. And then it'll just, inspires you to, oh, I wish I had done that, or, hey, I want to do better.
That's awesome. So, John, I'm going to go back to you here for a minute.
All right.
How do we set up Orlando's ad industry for a successful future?
It's actually living out here. The future are all y'all. I mean, at the end of the day, it's such a cool world in front of you. And there's, as Chris mentioned in the video, there's so many different ways to communicate now. And I think that's the interesting and the inspiring and the aspirational side of what we're doing, is we want to create a foundation that speaks to y'all, that speaks to generations after y'all. But more importantly, how do we connect Orlando? How do we connect all these different, disparate at times, yet connected groups that interact with each other? They may not do it on a day-to-day basis, but they mean each other. You look at the work that you saw up on the one show, that's the creative work, but there was also the account service side that developed the strategy. There was the media side that developed the channels that went out, whether it was on the social, digital, or traditional world. So the work that you see, it really does take a village. And in that sense, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring everyone together, whether it's AdFed, AMA, AIGA. I know it's a big part of it. Design is such a big part of our world, and not just in graphics, but in product design, all those different pieces and parts. So how do we bring everyone together? Because we all do work together at the end of the day to create things that matter. Right, communication that matters, communication that impacts people in the way that they react to what we're trying to at times, yes, sell. I mean, this is a business that we're in. That's one of the kind of platforms that we're talking about, the business of creativity, because at the end of the day, we're trying to sell things. Now, we can do that in different ways, whether it's social, selling, however you want to do it. But I think bringing everyone together and understanding the impact that the greater good happens when we all come together. So setting that foundation for the future and then letting you guys run with it.
Yeah, so these guys may not know all the abbreviations you threw out there,
right.
Like AAF,
right.
AMA.
Right.
These are all different organizations that are professional industries,
correct.
Professional organizations.
Right.
And so you're basically bringing together all of these professionals in one place for networking, for learning.
It's all about networking. Again, it's connecting. Again, we get so busy in our daily lives. And I think that's where this creates that opportunity to say, okay, take a pause. We want to get better. We want to grow individually. I think this is a great opportunity for you all to grow individually. You can kind of choose the selections, the tracks, the programming that you want to go to. If it's more about creativity, that you can go on that one. Maybe the AMA does something more on the business side of things. So you can look at the individual programming and say, this is where I fit in. This is where I want to learn the most. But you can also say, I want to be part of a bigger community and part of the bigger discussion. So yes, it is all the organizations, but it's also the members. I think that's the biggest part, are the members that are part of this, because they're very passionate. I think the organizations themselves do a great job of creating programming, but it's the memberships that make it happen and make it live.
That's great. Yeah. So speaking of that, Christian, you're the president of AAF. Can you tell them a little bit about what the American Advertising Foundation is and your experience as president?
Yes, certainly. So American Advertising Federation was started in 1924. So we've been around for a really long time. And our members include both advertising industry professionals, and we represent the agencies, and we're a nationwide organization. Orlando is one club in District 4, which makes up the state of Florida and the Caribbean. We're one of 20 clubs in this district. And then there's 15 districts across the entire U.S. And the reason that our organization exists is to protect the advertising industry, and we do that through government relations. And then we also grow our industry through education initiatives, and then we give back to our community through public service. And one of the big things that we do every year is the Addy Awards, and it's a way to celebrate our industry and the achievements that our agency members have worked really hard throughout the year to put together campaigns for their clients. So the week that we're putting together will actually culminate in the Addy Award Gala. So this is our local competition. Winners from the Addy local competition are forwarded on to the district, and then those district winners are then forwarded on to the national competition.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how these guys can get involved with the week, right? Are you guys ready to get into that? Josephine, let's start with you to talk a little bit about the student one show competition. So what is that all about, and how can students get involved with that?
A bit about the One Club. They're a lot younger. They were they started in the 70s, basically off the Creative Revolution, and they're very highly respected in the industry. They do a one show every year, which is the pinnacle of creative ideas, in May in New York, and then they travel the show around. Their competition is so harsh with the judging. For example, I think maybe it was took on the or was said on the video, but for example, 20,000 entries one year, and out of that was only 470 awards. So that's why it's so highly respected, because they pick judges around the world who are high level and either have won a pencil. So you get a really diverse group of people looking at the work. And every year now they have a student show. And if you take a note, there's going to be a Facebook Live on oneclub.org about the details of the show, of the competition, sorry. And that's at 5:30 to 6:30. And there's a link. Heather has a link to that information. And although this is separate and the deadline is next March, and there's 3 briefs up there that you can see. So you have a lot of time to do it, and I urge you to get a team together, because the work that comes out of the student show, it looks very produced. It's amazing. But you have the resources here. You have strategists here. You have technologists here, video. You have creative people here. So I urge you to get a team together, and once you get that together, look at the brief. You can certainly contact me If you've had any questions, I'd love to see Full Sail winning a student pencil and presenting at the Traveling One show one of these years. It would be phenomenal. And also, there's opportunities to pitch in front of national clients. You can go up to New York with your pitch, and there's a group of people there. I've seen them there, so you're actually getting in front of these high-level people and high-level clients and high-level creatives, so it will really help your career moving forward. So I do urge you to take a look at this, and I want to add that Cindy Lowe, she's a former Full Sail student. A couple of years ago, she was phenomenal in helping with the Traveling One show and volunteering. And we took her up to the One show, and she was there to see the student show and the high caliber of that, as well as the One show and etc. network. So I reached out to her. She's willing to also do a live chat with you about that as well, to help you really get ahead, and let's get a pencil.
That's awesome. Yeah, Sydney's amazing. I miss her. So these pencils, I got to see one because Josephine brought one to my class a couple years ago. She came in and spoke to my class, and the students got involved. And they're so cool. They're like these they're actual pencils, and they're like gold, silver, bronze, and they have engraving on them. They're about this big. They're awesome. It's very cool.
Very sought after.
Yes, very sought after.
Very sought after.
For sure. So Rebecca, we're going to skip to you now and talk a little bit about what's going to be happening during the week. In the venue that we're using is the Tree House, and so that's where things will be taking place. But one of the days will be the One show, and then the next day we have a portfolio review set up, right? So can you tell us a little bit about the portfolio review and what that might look like and the benefits for the students?
Sure. I mean, the benefits should be pretty obvious to you guys. This is your chance to get your work evaluated by some leading industry professionals. So really jumping to the front of the line. We kind of explain it as speed dating, but for your career. Mm-hmm. So it's also a great chance for you to get a little perspective from outside of your field. So if you're a creative, maybe having a media team take a look at your portfolio and give you feedback on, is this sellable? Is this something that would work in a real life situation? Same thing on the other side, from a media plan, is this creative enough? Is this something that's leading in the industry? So really great chance for you guys to get your work in front of professionals. Also a really great chance for you guys to network with each other. Mm-hmm. See what your students are doing. It's not just for your creative portfolios. I also urge you to bring your resumes in because these are the people you're going to be applying to soon. So great chance to get some feedback there as well. Maybe you're missing just that certain little something that's going to get you in the door for your first big opportunity.
That's awesome. And it's not just open to Full Sail students. This is open to every student in the area. So that includes UCF, Rollins, Stetson, whoever can drive here, right?
Valencia.
Or Valencia. Mm-hmm. We'll probably have something set up too for our online students to participate and show their work. So that's very exciting as well. Thanks. Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit about AAF and Add2 and how that relationship is and the importance of supporting students and growing talent where we live?
Absolutely. And, John actually touched on it a little bit earlier about bringing the industry back together because it can get kind of segmented. Add2 is really for your first step into your professional life. You may have a career already, but this is really bringing you to that next level, bringing you around peers that are in your same situations, giving you guys the chance to run things by them. Maybe you have a unique client that you've never run into, but one of your Add2 partners has. So great way to network, learn kind of what's going on in the industry overall, and then locally in Orlando, what maybe John is producing over at Push, or some of the new creative that we're seeing in town. So keeps you in the industry, also helps develop your talent. The other great thing about it is partnered with the AAF. So AAF is really that next step after Add2. This is your chance to partner with seniors who have been there and done that and seen it, and really have the chance to guide you through that process. So maybe you are looking to go into a different avenue. You're creative, you want to learn more about the media buying side of things. This is really where your Add To team and your AF partnership can help guide you through a lot of those weird niche moments that you guys are going to see moving forward.
That's awesome. So now we get to share like what this contest is all about, okay? And we're going to outline what we're asking of you guys, and it's broken up into 2 different phases. So the very first phase here is a submission phase where we're going to try to find the best of the best, right? To work with us on this project. So in phase 1, we're going to ask you guys to submit some projects related to branding, marketing plans, video storytelling, promo graphics, or posters. So there's 4 different categories, and you guys can submit to each category if you want to, but they're all individual projects, and you're allowed to have 1 submission for each category. There's a creative brief that was written by John. It's amazing. It's a great example of a creative brief.
I wish it was brief, but it was.
It's a little longer than a normal creative brief, but it's because we want to give you a clear picture of what the event's all about, right?
Yep.
So there is a creative brief available for you guys on Connect. If you do a search for Ad Week, it will pop right up. It's under Opportunities on Connect, and you'll see a whole page with all the resources that you need. This is an individual submission project, so no group submissions, because what we're trying to do is identify 4 to 5 students that are absolute rock stars that submit creative work, and we're not putting a lot of framework here for you. You guys can really submit a wide range of projects in these categories, but they'll be selecting, our panel of judges here will be selecting the best 4 to 5 projects, and those students will be asked to work as official interns for the week, which will be happening here at Full Sail. And so we'll talk a little bit about what that includes too. So the submission deadline is about 3 weeks from now. It's on a Thursday, November 9th at 12 noon. Okay, and those submissions are going to be sent to my inbox directly to me. So I'll probably get a lot of emails that day, I would imagine. Okay, so I want you guys to send those to me. My contact information is on Connect, but it's htorres, TORRES @fullsail.com. And you can also, if you have questions, I'll do my best to answer your questions too about the contest. So in phase 2 of the contest, this is what our interns can expect. This is what you're trying out for here. We'll have 4 to 5 students that are selected based on submissions. These could be campus or online students. It could be alumni as well, if any alumni want to be involved in this. But what's great is not only are you selected to be part of this project and work as in an intern capacity, which is great for your resume, wonderful for your resume, but the winners will also get a $100 gift card to the HangR, so they can go on a shopping spree at the HangR if they want to. Okay. The winners will be announced November 20th, and you guys will be collaborating with a bunch of highly esteemed professionals in the industry. Okay, so these wonderful people will be some of your mentors, and there will be other people that hold officer positions that are part of the organizations that will have input. So it's a wonderful networking opportunity for you to meet a lot of people in the industry. So the things that you'll be working on in an internship capacity, you'll be coming up with an event name. You'll be coming up with an event logo. You'll design an email campaign. You'll have social media extensions for the event. There will be a landing page that'll be designed for the event, posters, and then you'll also be sharing project updates on a vlog or a blog. So they've asked that you check in like once a month with the people that are in charge of the event planning and talk about your progress here and there. So Chris, I'm going to now ask you to elaborate on this further.
Thank you. You've already done such a great job going through both of the phases, but I think that what we're mainly trying to do is give them the opportunity to see what it's like to work in the real world experience of with the creative industry.
Awesome.
And so with that being said, let's look at the brief first, and as John put some time into that, it's definitely very descriptive.
Yes.
And so I would start there. That's a good place.
Awesome.
And so just use the world around you for inspiration. Again, there's no teams, but start with a brief.
Awesome. And, I had talked to Ken, actually. We were talking about this today, who teaches our branding class in the master's program. And it's okay if you brainstorm within groups, that's okay. But the final submission is going to be an individual submission, okay? So if you guys, want to bounce ideas off each other and do some brainstorming, that's okay. But just know when it comes down to it, they will be individual submissions because they really want you guys to submit your own individual projects to choose the best students to work on this. So, Chris, after the competition, how can we plan on working together with the students?
Right. So, that's probably the biggest reason for having individual submissions is that we're building a team from based off of the submissions. And so students can plan to work with a professional leadership team. We'll use project management software, probably Asana, to manage an entire project. So, again, it's a really good insight and having the experience of what it's like to work on a real world project.
That's awesome. And that's what we're all about here. So I love that we're able to give the students that experience. So Rebecca, can you tell us a little bit about the mentorship program and how students can sign up for that?
Sure. Sign-up's actually going to start in November, but to give you guys sort of the outline of it, we are going to be picking local professionals like John or Christian, myself, or Chris, to kind of partner with you. So you're a student, you may not be ready to jump into Ad 2, but you want to be able to ask those real world questions, get some guidance. Maybe you're in between two different career paths and need a little bit of fine tuning. So we're going to pair you with someone that has the skills that you're looking to sharpen. You're going to be able to submit on our Ad 2 site what you're looking to gain out of a mentorship. Our mentors are also going to sign up, letting you guys know what their skill set is. So that's how we're really matching you up. It's not that time consuming. We're structuring it about 3 hours over a quarter. So really using that hour that you have with them to drain all the knowledge that you need and kind of have them go over what you're working on, what your ideas are, and ultimately what you want to do moving forward once you graduate.
That's awesome. Yeah, and we'll be also checking in with the students that are they sign up to do this from on a weekly basis. I think we're going to have a virtual check-in to see kind of answer questions if you have questions throughout the process. But that's awesome that you're offering the mentorship program that's long-term. That's great. Rebecca, my last question before we turn it into a Q&A. Can you tell us about the importance of education and how important these real-world opportunities are for the students?
This is your guys' chance, right? Get the leg up in the industry. It's all about how you network in advertising, in media in general. This is a great way to also impact the industry you're walking into, because the unique part about being young and joining this kind of industry is that you have knowledge that some of the older vets do not. So you can carve a really unique space for yourself. We're seeing some of our younger talent really grow new ideas, like influencer marketing is something that grew out of just the way that your age group is responding to media now. So really your chance to kind of share with the industry and gain the knowledge you're looking for. The path is never really straightforward in your career, but this is your chance to kind of get to know everything you need to know about it. It's also the chance to meet people that are further down the line going to be able to impact it. It's something, I refer to as your media family. Years later, they may be able to get you in touch with the right client, with the right person, and ultimately move you forward. So this is really sort of your jumping off point, if you will.
That's awesome. Wonderful. So do you guys have any questions for these guys? A few questions? I see a hand up over here. If someone could bring a microphone over. Thank you.
It's just a quick question about the mentoring program. How could the mentoring program help a student that isn't studying for advertising? How could that benefit us?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So the best way to kind of help you get a leg up is what skill set are you looking to sharpen? So if it's something like you're looking to improve your presentation skills. Well, then someone client-facing like myself could probably help you with that. I do it every day. It's really based on the skills that you want to develop. And that's what's unique about our mentoring program, is it's based on what you want and how you want to use your time.
Yeah, I think, advertising is a discipline, creativity is a passion, right? So I think that's where I started. I had a passion for writing. I just happened to channel it through advertising at the time. There might be other channels that you have for creativity, not knowing out of curiosity, what you have a passion for. And
in my undergrad, I studied computer animation,
okay.
But I focused on look dev environment so I could make stuff like this room, make it look real.
Right.
And then in my master's now, I'm studying business entertainment.
Right.
So I just want to know how all of that can help.
Well, it's interesting what we do on our side. So if you look back to our origin as Push, we were an advertising agency. Now we're more branding, marketing. We're actually designing restaurants. So you could, with that skill set, you can come and go, okay, this was our creative vision for what this restaurant should be, and then you could come in and help us. Now, business entertainment, again, it's a creative outlet, right? I mean, who you're representing, they're creating things. And so you have to understand the creative process just as much as anyone else. So I think even though you may not have that discipline, if you have the passion and understanding of like creativity or like business, then it'll just help you. It's about empathy, right? It's understanding people and what's important to them.
Yeah.
So as you go out and you represent people in business entertainment, what are the things that they're looking for as creative entertainers and things like that. So I think that's the greatest thing about all this, is you're going to get to touch a little bit all the way through, and it's that overall empathy and understanding of how it all works together. Because again, we don't create in a vacuum, and I think that's a big part of it. I think that's what's represented here. We don't create in a vacuum. We create with a lot of. We talk about making the box smaller. Everyone talks about thinking outside the box. We talk about that in our brief. The smaller the box we believe in, the easier it is to think outside of. So it's that understanding of the different kind of things that are the input, and that'll make you a better, whatever your discipline is. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think one thing too that when I've taught marketing for years here at Full Sail, and entertainment is so intertwined with marketing, right? Not only does every entertainment product need marketing, but a lot of times things are marketed through entertainment, right?
Yep.
And so I think it's a natural connection, and I think that you'd certainly benefit from the skills that any of these mentors would be able to provide for you. So.
And to further that, you're actually able to do more than one mentorship since they're only a quarter long. So if you discover by your mentor that maybe there's an avenue for you to develop your talent within the industry, you're able to kind of in the next round say, this is the skill I want to sharpen now.
That's great. Do we have another question? I see a hand over here.
I was wondering, what would you say is a good starting place for recent graduates who haven't gained any experience yet, trying to get into the industry, but because industries they ask for several years of experience, but it's where can you get that experience if an entry level job is asking for years of experience that you haven't gotten yet?
So I would recommend joining Add2 Orlando. They're our young professionals group within the AdFed. And every year they actually interview several local nonprofit organizations, and they pick one. And they actually put together an entire rebrand marketing plan and actually activate that plan for that quote-unquote client. So that's a way, even as a student right now, you could get involved with that. They actually just announced their nonprofit that they picked last week. So that would get you some real-world experience that you can add to your resume, and when you graduate, you already have a year of real-world experience.
So what's your background? I mean, as far as what do you want to do?
I'm studying digital art and design. I'm looking to get.
So I mean, there might be an ad too, but there might be a young professionals even within that's more specific to what you're doing. So go out and find those organizations that take care of their young, if you will, that because they recognize they're the future. But also internships. I think that's the biggest thing is go get out and get an internship. It might be paid, it might not be, but it gets you in front of people. The biggest thing is getting published, right? At the end of the day, that's the hardest thing. That shows you're working, that you have something that's been put in front of people. You've gone through the decision-making process, and people are seeing it in the real world. So that's, once you start getting things published in that regard, we allow a lot of our interns to get things published. And so all of a sudden, they're creating a book, they're creating a portfolio, you can talk about in your resume. So possibly an internship might be another way to go about it.
Great question.
I'll add to that too. That's very much a universal question when you're coming out of the gate is, okay, they're looking for experience, I don't have any, but if you really put a lot of effort into a great book and do a lot of the competitions, and therefore you, even if you don't win, you've really went through a whole campaign. So that can also help you. And also connecting with the specific organizations as well, because if you're doing like a lot of volunteering, I know Kristen mentioned nonprofits, but there's also like startup companies. For example, I know in Orlando that we tried to reach out to get involved in the week was the tech meetup. And a lot of them don't, they're trying feverishly to get an app going and with very little budgets. So maybe that's an avenue and to reach out to see where you can help and maybe get a little money, but also get real world experience. They are a huge group in town and they meet, I think, every month. So check there as well if that's the digital route that you're going after.
That's a great question. There's someone right behind you.
How you guys doing? My name is John. I actually have a question for you, John. You were talking earlier about in the entertainment business, how there's this balance between the creativity and discipline in a nutshell in order for it to kind of work cohesively. Any tips on, kind of like guys like me who are on the fence? I have a background in music production, and I joined the EBMS program, because I'm interested in business, but I did also understand that there's a level of discipline you need in order to make, a serious revenue stream. And I'm just curious to know, is there any tips and tricks of getting that balance? And also, as far as for these industry professionals for Ad Week and for networking events, would it be in our best interest to, I guess, deliver more of our talent, creative abilities to these individuals, or more of that discipline level of understanding that we understand the business? What are they looking for specifically?
Well, even in creativity, there's discipline, right? I mean, you can break down even creativity. You have writers and art directors, you have designers and social media influencers. So I think as far as understanding the business side and the creative side, it's find those people. Go find the people that you think are doing it right first, and somehow I know it's hard because you were just talking about how to get in front of people. Internships are the way, but it all works together. And so I started out in media, believe it or not. I mean, I took 3 finance or math classes in school, and the rest was writing. But I started out as a media person, but the media discipline taught me how to look at demographics. So where you're starting right now, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. It's like with majors. How many of y'all have changed your major since you've started? Okay, you're pretty disciplined. Okay, a few of y'all. All right. but that's going to be your career path. I just wanted to get into the business. And so the quickest way, I moved to LA, and at the time my creative book wasn't good enough to get into the big agencies where I wanted to work. And so I said, okay, what are the other paths I can take? My first job was actually driving a delivery van for a media company, and then I worked my way up. And I just learned. I was a passionate learner. I had this insatiable curiosity about people, not just the people that we're talking to, but the people around me. And I looked at those people, because once you get into an organization, you can see the leaders. And they're different leaders. They're department leaders, they're cultural leaders, they're the CEOs, all these different people. Find the leaders. Find the leaders that are doing it right, that you feel have the passion for what you're doing, and then you'll start to see the discipline that they have. So that's the biggest thing. Find those people. It may be from afar. You may just follow someone who has a blog or online and stuff like that, but find those traits and attributes that are most important to you and be yourself within that. Don't try to be someone else. I think that's the biggest thing. You got to follow your passion. And that was I wanted to be a writer. Yeah, but I had to go do media for a while and do numbers and math and all that kind of stuff, but I knew there was an end goal. But I was always in the business of marketing. I was always in the business of advertising. So I knew my path would kind of vary throughout it, but most importantly, getting back to that discipline, I knew where I wanted to get. And so I just worked my way to that. Answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'll actually extend on that a little bit. For specific events like our portfolio review for students, I would urge you to speak to not just people in the profession that you're looking at, but people outside of it. Like John was mentioning, an idea is great, but will it sell? A media plan is wonderful, but is it creative enough to capture the demo? So I would urge you to really try to spend more time with people outside of your bubble to help you build that core competency, right? Because you're already great at what you do. It's about building perspective now. So when you're applying for something like our mentorship program, look at skill sets that you're not already developed in, and bring yourself up to what we would refer to as a triple threat. You're not just creative, you don't just have a business mind, but you also have that leadership skill as well. That's what's really gonna make you stand out on an applicant's list.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Great advice. And a good question, too. Any other questions from the audience? Oh, I see someone in the back here.
I'll stand up so everyone can see me. Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for spending the time to give us this knowledge. I have a question for you all. How do you necessarily do those kind of entry-level jobs, or maybe you find yourself doing something else? Maybe, like you said, you're a delivery man for the media company. How do you do those jobs and not, I guess, get bogged and you just find yourself just doing that for the rest of your life without actually completing your trajectory and your goal?
I wouldn't let your job define your craft, right? My craft was writing. And so just because I had a job driving a delivery truck didn't mean I stopped writing. So I think whether you're in digital or you're in business entertainment, don't forget your passion and your craft. These are just stepping stones. So I think you just have to recognize, and now I'll say this, be the best. When you're in that job, I said, okay, I'll be the best delivery. This is back long before, this is 1986, before any of y'all were born and there was anything like cell phones and GPS. And I hadn't been in LA in my entire life. I had to drive around and learn my way around LA. But I said, you know what, I'll do it the best that I can. And then they'll recognize me. So the people always pay attention. Even the people that aren't your immediate bosses are paying attention to people who do their jobs well, because they see something in them that matters. So do the job that you may not be the career or the craft that you want, but recognize it's just a step to that. But do the best you can in it and continue on that path of your craft. And that was my thing. I kept on writing. I kept on applying to different places, I had to move to Miami, then I moved here, but I kept on pursuing my craft. And eventually, Chris, who you saw up on the video, gave me an opportunity. He said, okay, I see a passion. May not have the talent right now, but you have a passion for it. So that's where I started there.
That's awesome.
And I'll just add to that. If you are bogged down in something because life happens and stuff happens that steers you off the path, at least try and dedicate an hour or like 15 minutes, they say, if you're a writer. Just make sure you get 15 minutes a day and just to keep it going if you're off your path professionally. And also, I wanted to add too, and just be careful about tons of feedback on your work and where you are. Because you will get a lot of different feedback, and that may steer you off your path a wee bit as well. But try and stick to really your truth and what you're good at, and keep doing that on a daily basis, and make time for it, even though you have to. LA traffic for a 15-minute delivery must have took like 3 hours. Right, exactly. So that's what I want to say. Just make sure you're true to yourself.
Yeah, and I'll actually jump in here as well, because very similar situation. I had 3 unpaid internships when I was in my final year of college. It's about grit. It really is. 3 different internships, worked day and night. If I wasn't studying, I was at one of my radio stations offering to schlep tables and set up tents. And it got me in front of sales managers. And sales managers got me in front of market presidents. And market presidents got me in front of brand leaders. So just keep going, because the hard work, the effort, not everybody can do that. Not everyone has the grit to do great work and to do it consistently over a long period of time. So just keep going.
Amazing feedback. That's great. Any other questions? We have one here.
First of all, thank you very much for everybody being here. My question is actually for Christian. For those of us who are not interested in for-profit work, I'm interested in getting into nonprofit. What kind of strategies did you use to get to where you are with your organization? And are there any internships available, not just here in Florida, but nationwide, to get into some kind of nonprofit work to get your foot in the door?
So in regards to being president of the Advertising Federation, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah.
So I've been involved with the Advertising Federation now for 10 years, and it's been a lot of work. Every nonprofit, I mean, it's all volunteer. It's starting out with it, I actually started with the Addy Award Committee and just kind of got my foot in the door just to start there. And as I got involved and as I met more people and began to network, and someone saw something in me that they were like, oh, I think he could be a really great leader. And over the course of the last 10 years, I just kind of kept leading different committees and things, and then was elected president this last year. Nonprofits have always been a passion of mine, and actually 2 years ago I started a new program within the AdFed to assist nonprofits called Ad Help Day. And it's just it's a way to connect our members with local nonprofits for a 4-hour workshop, in which the nonprofit walks away with something tangible, whether it's fixes to their website, a press release, marketing plan. So even something like that for students to come and volunteer at that event and see what nonprofits are here locally, and kind of get to see what is it that these nonprofits are looking for, what are they needing, that might be really helpful for you too. Did I answer it?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's very good. You know, I think one of the common things that I see when talking to students that are in this transitional point in their life, you know, it's like they're here for a reason, they want to excel and move ahead in their careers. Some of them are so eager to get a paycheck that they're not willing to like sign up to be a part of a nonprofit organization that's meant to develop and connect them to other leaders. So can you guys speak to the importance of being involved in these? I mean, because many of you own your own companies. You don't need to be involved in AAF or Add2 or any of these organizations. Why do you do it?
I guess I'll add to that because I'm burnt out volunteering. But if you pick a nonprofit, I mean, the one club I just love, and because of the belief system, you know, they're all about just the pure idea and getting something really unique that resonates. So if it actually takes the sting, I'm sure, like in the AAF, you're passionate about it, so it takes the sting out of the hours that you put into it, and then the benefits of it's incredible when you meet all these different people and like last night I was in New York and watching the Golden Gold lectures, and then just to get in front of these people and talk to them and get their email to connect, great. So that's the way to help your career as well. Hey, can you look at my book? That type of stuff. And then getting with the volunteering, I know when there's some opportunities to get into some of the shows for less money or for free if you do significant volunteering. So right now, guys, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a car payment, your parents are paying for a lot of this stuff. So you can do, or don't use your credit card to pay for that stuff. But right now, I would invest I would advise you to invest a lot of your time in volunteering and finding a niche where you're very passionate about to get involved and to really help your career and to network.
Yeah, I mean, as an agency owner, I want my people to get smarter faster. So I think by being members with people like AdFed, it helps them get there. And that's a little bit selfish for me because I want our people to be the best they can be. So they're going to learn a lot with us. But again, it's getting outside, it's interacting with other people, because other people have just as good ideas as we do. You know, we can get very siloed in our thought process. And so people like AdFed, AMA, getting involved with groups like that allow us to think a little bit more outside of our own four walls, if you will. But again, at the end of the day, it is about our people getting better faster. So if AdFed can do that, AMA can do that, AIGA can do that. Add2, we have people from our company that are on the board. Again, we believe firmly in giving back because we feel we've been very blessed by what we've gotten from the community. So we help things like having people on the board. It's a lot of time. I mean, us allowing people to be on the board, Add2, the Ad-Fed. I know we hosted the Ad Help Day. But that's all about getting better. And it's about selflessly getting better. I think that's the biggest part about all these people up here, especially these people who are running these organizations, are very selfless in their ideology and belief that these organizations are here to help us all. So I think it's very critical to understand why these organizations exist.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Any last questions from you guys before we call it a wrap today? Do we have any online? Any questions about the contest? You guys all good? Okay, awesome. Go ahead, John.
We've talked a lot about competitions, and there's the creative, which we recognize one show being the pinnacle of success. For those on the business side, there is an award show called the Effies, and it's all about effectiveness, right? So at the end of the day, these KPIs matter. So I would go look up this just to see if those of you on the strategy side that are building decks and marketing plans, go look at the Effies. And the work is stellar as well, but it's judged differently. It's not just about creativity, it's about effectiveness, that's the name. And so you'll see the marketing plans that are in there, you'll see what the objectives were, all those different pieces and parts, and then how they solve the problem. So go take a look at that as well. Again, creativity is what we all have a passion for, but business of creativity is just as important and just as relevant to making that creative great.
That's awesome. So I don't know if you guys realize this, but these guys put a lot of work into preparing for this. Everything from like helping design slides to, helping me with questions to guide the conversation to creating, amazing creative briefs. And so I want to thank them for their time tonight and for helping us put this whole thing together. And we just can't wait to see what you guys submit for the contest. So thank you guys.
Thank you all.
And everybody have a great night. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Right.